Hello, internet denizens. This is Sarah Ness coming at you from sunny Austin, Texas. And I'm pretty nervous making a video, but I had a circling call this morning with Greg Osimovic from London, and he mentioned lots of questions about circles. How do you set context for a circle? What are different types of circles that you can lead? How do you deal with objections in a circle? And I realized that I teach live workshops constantly about circling and about facilitation, and it would probably take me, 10 minutes once a week to record a video. And so I'm setting a commitment for myself to record one of these videos each week, and hopefully you guys will let me know how they land with you, just to try to provide a little more information on it. So about circles and intensive circles that you can lead. And I'm going to assume that you have some general knowledge. There are three types of circles, as you probably know, or three main ones. Birthday circle, where the attention is focused on a single person, usually for about 45 minutes. An organic circle, where the attention can move from person to person, or a surrendered leadership circle, where basically the leader is the deepest embodiment of the principles that they're trying to impart, which are things like stay at the level of sensation, be with the other in their world, own your experience. So beyond the type of circle, if you've circled with multiple people, you've probably noticed that there are significant differences in how a circle feels. To me, so I've studied with all the different circling schools and done a lot of independent, just like, what is this practice? Why would I want to do it? And I've started inquiring, what is it that causes different circles to be different? And in me, there are different intentions when I circle. So if I'm doing a birthday circle, my intent can be to get your world, basically to understand what's happening in you. My intent could be to offer some insight. I could be focusing more on the somatic realm, more on the mental realm, more on my relationship with you or your relationship with other people in the circle. And while we like to think that a circle can include all of these things, actually where we focus is going to determine how the circle goes. And you probably have a natural propensity to focus on one of these areas. Maybe you're more outwardly curious, and so your circles are often exploring somebody's relationship with different parts of themselves. Or maybe you really enjoy the meditative aspect of things, and so your circles are quite slow. You wait to speak until you're fully in your body, and it brings the rest of the circle really into presence together. I don't consider there being any right or wrong, but I'm going to say that for me, when I circle, there are three main categories, regardless of whether I'm doing a birthday circle or an organic circle or even a surrendered leadership circle. The first is insight or transformation based. And this is if I actually eliminate something that's happening in the other person, or if I get asked to do a mediation or a couples circle in the dynamic between two people. Tools I might use are noticing how someone's being together. Like, I notice that you're leaning slightly away from us, and your body position is very upright, and your tone of voice is slow. Just noticing what I'm doing right now. And, I imagine that you're a little nervous, or like not quite fully just like, relaxed. So you can illuminate this distinction between where somebody is and another way they could be. So that's a form of gaining insight, because someone may not realize even either how they're showing up or that there are other ways of showing up. And then you can dive deeper, like, how is it for you to notice that, to be doing that? Are there different parts of you that have, different reactions in this moment? What's the relationship between those parts? What's your relationship to us as I'm exploring this? How is your thought process? Whatever. And essentially, you're focusing somewhat outwardly towards the circlee, or towards their relationship with other people in the circle, or other people's relationship with them. If it's an organic circle, it might even move. And you're exploring what is happening here, maybe in relation to other parts of their life, how this shows up in general, and kind of looking, if you're looking for anything, like looking for that aletheia moment where somebody sees something that they haven't seen before, this unveiling of the unknown. And often that leads to transformation. And it could be at a somatic level, like oh my God, like, in the circle with Greg this morning, when I really just got in touch with my felt experience of this shieldedness and a vulnerability underneath, and I explored my relationship to those. And for me, it was actually like a kind of, how do these parts interact? I noticed a shift in them and in my awareness of them, like, oh my goodness, like maybe these two parts of me, rather than being in conflict with each other, could be in relationship to something bigger. So that was an aha moment that I'd consider insight. So that's one possibility of circling. And the way of attention is probably like a little more focused outward. I'm really watching the way of being. I'm watching how I feel with the person as they experience shifts. I'm mirroring back how they're being. I'm inquiring about what they're saying. If I'm being asked into circle for a particular purpose, like to resolve a conflict or to explore an internal issue, I'm probably inquiring about that particular thing. And I'm holding out a space of humility that I don't know how it is. I may be wrong in any moment. You have to help me illuminate it. And we may or may not get to an insight. That's fine. Second type of circling in this kind of structure, community-based circling. So this is actually my preference. When I go too much towards insight, when I'm actually not really kind of interested in something, I lose myself. I start feeling goal-oriented. I start feeling kind of tense, like, oh, I have to do something here. I have to provide value, and I just lose track of myself and of my care. So I prefer what I call community-based circling, which is I'm going to be like a little more back, like as the circler, or not necessarily back in like the way I'm being with the circle. Like I might be quite engaged and excited and involved and playful, but I'm not going to be quite as guiding as I might be in an insight-based circle, because in that type of circling, if you have too many voices in the room, you're probably going to lose the thread that you were actually on. It's lovely to have input, but different people are noticing different things. And we don't get to go as deep into a particular issue if one person isn't really guiding and saying like, hey, let's pause on that for a minute because there's something happening in relation to the circlee right now, or in relation to the circle, and let's stay on this thread. In community-based circling, for me, the intent is to have more voices in the room and to explore how we are together and what our natural way of being is without quite as much interference from my style as the circler. And instead, I'm watching the unfolding. How do people interact? If we're birthday circling somebody, like what is it like for us to be with them? How are we being? How are they responding to us? What do different people want to say? What are different people noticing? I'm mostly letting people speak when they have something to say. I might acknowledge it and reframe it if it feels kind of off. Like, oh, so, it sounds like you really have a curiosity about what Sheila's life is outside of here. And Sheila, without responding to the question, I'm curious how it is to hear that interest. And how is it to have this relationship of interest with somebody in the group? So that might be a way of kind of redirecting a question, but still keeping it community-based, versus if it's insight-based, it might be something like, I actually want to pause that for just now because there was a shift that happened for you right after I asked about kind of your relationship with the tension in your body, and I want to stay with that. So community-based circling, I'm letting people speak a bit more. I'm noticing the how. I might be using we seem, like, hey, we seem really curious about you. Or do you guys notice the shift that happens? Or the way that her shoulders went back like that. Well, can we get like a couple reactions of how that was for you to witness? My attention is broader. And this doesn't have to be with a community that already knows each other. This is my default form of circling. I do it with almost every group. And it actually has to be a more being-based way of circling, because I'm holding out a space of care and inclusivity, and everything is welcome, and we're holding a value on owning our experience and on being deeply together. And we're not just letting anything go. I'm, as the circler, noticing the moments where it seems like there's most depth or connection, noticing what I'd consider like bad habits, if people are assuming each other's experience a lot without checking in, or kind of automatically acting on things and not really seeing if there's a connection or a relationship there. Those might be places where I pause and actually say, hey, wait, let's check this out for a moment. Or if people are habitually missing each other, whatever it is, those are things that I sometimes look for in this style of circling. The last that I can think of right now is more meditative circling, which is basically we're here to do a relational meditation together. And our kind of barometer for how much we're doing that practice is how present do we feel with each other? How much are we in this we space where my thoughts are kind of almost becoming diffuse and I feel connected with all of you, or even with some of you, or I'm just definitely attuned to the quality of my felt sense as I'm with you. In setting the context, the circler is probably not going to be as explicit of, hey, this is circling, we're going to be here for 45 minutes, we're going to ask you to kind of own your experience as much as possible, basically stay with what you can see and like objectively witness. I'm going to be doing whatever it is. They might just be more tuning into their felt sense and doing a meditation to start out with, eyes closed, speaking from right now as I'm with you. I am noticing my breath in my body. And I invite you to notice whatever's happening in your body. How is it right now? These moment by moment changes. So I'm leading from the presence that's actually in myself, which hopefully I'm doing to some degree anyways. But in this style, I find that most of my attention is on myself. In the first form of circling, it's mostly out towards the other, and I'm using myself as a source of information. In the second, it's kind of diffused towards the group. Again, using myself as a source of information, but I'm noticing the how of us together and like the quality of our we space. And in this, I'm noticing mostly like just me, just speaking from my truth, trusting that others may speak from theirs, calling us into deeper presence if I don't feel that we're there. Saying, hey, I want to feel more with you when you say that. Can we be in your world with you? When I'm in this state, it's hard to speak quickly. It's hard to respond to things in the outside world. There's a lot more silence, a lot more like just slowness. It's actually a really beautiful space, I find, especially to start a circle from. And in surrendered leadership circles, this is, I'd say, kind of the general meme is my attention is mostly on myself and my own experience and whatever comes up, and I'm just trusting that. And at the end of the circle, as Decker likes to say, we know it's a circle if we feel like we've meditated together. So that's a quick thing, and let me know what you think and if I should keep doing these, and if you have any topics that you'd like me to cover. As a quick thing about me, if you don't know me, I've been leading Circling and Authentic Relating for the last 4 years, co-founded the Austin and Houston Authentic Relating communities and the Austin Circling community, and trained at least 200 leaders at this point in these practices. And it's what I'm passionate about, so I would just love to share what I know if it's of use. Have a good day.